I worked at the hospital for a month, and that time changed everything. I was a nurse there, and I thought it would be my dream job. I loved the night shift. It let me take care of my patients and my daughter. But then things turned dark. On my first week, it started small. One night, I heard what sounded like sobbing. I thought it was a patient, so I walked into the room. But it was empty. The bed was untouched. I felt a chill run down my spine, but I shrugged it off. Maybe I just needed more sleep. Things got stranger as the days passed. One night, I was taking care of my patients when a voice called my name. It was soft, almost like a whisper. I looked around, but no one was there. My heart raced. Was I imagining things? I felt uneasy, but I tried to focus on my work. Then, I started seeing shadows. They moved at the corners of my eyes. I would glance over, but nothing was there. I swore I felt eyes on me, even when no one was around. I wondered if I was just tired. I was working long hours. After all, one early morning, I heard two nurses in the break room. They were whispering, and I thought they were talking about shifts. But then, I caught words like accident and the past. They stopped talking when I walked in. The tension in the room was heavy. I wanted to ask what it was about, but I didn't. Something held me back, like fear. As my last shift neared, I felt more anxious. The hallways felt alive, and I couldn't shake that feeling. One night, I saw a figure at the end of the hallway. It was blurry, like a reflection. My feet froze. The figure felt like it knew me. I took a step forward, and it vanished. My heart pounded. What was happening to me? The final encounter was the most unsettling. That night, I was alone at the nurse's station. The hospital was quiet, and I felt on edge. Then I heard a soft voice call my name again. I whipped around, but there was nobody there. Panic flooded me. I couldn't breathe. What was wrong? Was it my mind playing tricks? I felt like I was losing it, but then I heard laughter. It echoed off the walls, cold and empty. I couldn't see where it came from. It sent chills through me. I turned my head, scanning the empty hallways. It felt like the hospital was alive, hiding secrets from me. I didn't know what to do. I just wanted to understand what was happening. Was it the hospital as past, or was it just me? Now I sit here, weeks later, still haunted by those nights. I left that job, but the memories linger. I can still hear the whispers in the dark. My last month working the night shift changed me forever. I can't shake the feeling that the hospital has more to reveal. I'm scared to find out what it is. I didn't think I'd ever return to that hospital, but I found myself standing outside its doors again. My heart raced, and my mind was flooded with memories. I thought about those whispering voices and the shifting shadows. Something had to be done. I needed answers. I parked my car, chiding myself for being so reckless. It was late afternoon, well before my old night shift started. The building loomed tall, cold and uninviting. Taking a deep breath, I approached the entrance. I tried to convince myself I was just here to visit a friend. I was not searching for ghosts. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. Inside, the air was thick with dread. I could feel my anxiety creeping back. It wasn't just me. The hospital felt wrong. I walked through the familiar hallways, hearing the echo of my footsteps. I wanted to turn back, but the urge to discover the truth pushed me forward. As I moved down one corridor, I caught sight of a janitor pushing a cart. He must have recognized me because he smiled. "You back for another shift?" he asked. His voice was light-hearted, but I could see hesitance in his eyes. "Just visiting," I replied, forcing a smile. "How are things?" He shrugged but looked nervous, glancing around as if checking for something. "Quiet mostly. But you hear stories, Weird things happen at night." I felt a chill spill through me. I leaned in closer, not wanting to be obvious. What do you mean? He hesitated. Just things you can't explain. Folk talk about the patients we lost. Sometimes, they say they can still feel them around. His voice dropped to a whisper, and he glanced at the empty hallway behind me. My stomach twisted. Like what? Whispers? He nodded, his expression serious. Seen shadows, too. You know what I mean? It's like they never really left. Just watch what you find out. Not everything wants to be remembered. Before I could ask more, he turned and walked away, leaving me alone again. I felt a mix of dread and curiosity bubbling inside me. What if the stories were true? What if those whispers were the remnants of lost souls trying to communicate? With my heart pounding, I decided I had to explore the old wing. It was off limits now, but I remembered it well, the place where everything felt heavier, where the air seemed more suffocating. I slipped past the "Do Not Enter" sign, adrenaline zipping through my veins. The hallway felt even darker than I remembered. I flicked on my phone flashlight, illuminating dust-coated walls. Every step echoed louder as I moved deeper into the corridor. I felt like I was trespassing, like the hospital was watching me. That S when the air turned ice cold. My light flickered, and a voice whispered softly from behind me. Help me! My breath caught in my throat. I whipped around, but no one was there. Fear surged through me, sending me into a panic. Who was that? Why were they asking for help? Suddenly, a door creaked open a few feet away. Was someone in there? I felt drawn to it, but every instinct screamed to run. I stood frozen, the shadows seeming to close in around me. What was I about to uncover? I stood there, paralyzed by a mix of fear and curiosity. The door that had creaked open beckoned me, its faintly ajar frame almost inviting. Taking a tentative step forward, I felt an invisible force pulling me in. Every rational thought screamed for me to turn back, but I couldn't resist. I stepped closer, my heart drumming in my chest. As I reached the door, I pushed it open wider with a shaky hand. The hinges squeaked, echoing my unease. Inside, the room was dark. Only the pale light from my phone illuminated layers of dust that had settled over medical equipment long forgotten. The air felt heavier, and I could almost taste the stale scent of indifference. Then I heard it again. Help me. The voice floated through the space, a barely audible plea, distant yet so haunting. It came from the far corner of the room. I squinted into the shadows, suddenly aware of the deepening sense of dread surrounding me. Hello? I called out, my voice trembling. Is anyone there? The only reply was the oppressive silence that swallowed my words. I didn't want to move further inside, but something compelled me. I took a cautious step, then another, until I reached the corner. That S when I saw it, an old hospital bed, the sheets stained and untouched by time. On the bed lay a figure, slumped and still. My heart stopped. The voice had come from him. Please, the whisper came again, and I nearly dropped my phone. I reached out hesitantly, feeling a mix of dread and compassion wash over me. Who are you? I whispered back, though I wasn't sure I wanted an answer. The figure stirred slightly. Help me. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. The words chilled me to the core. I wanted to flee, but I felt rooted to the spot. How could I help if I didn't understand? Suddenly, the shadows flickered. The light from my phone dimmed as I backed away, skin prickling with fear. The figure on the bed became clearer. I could make out a face twisted in anguish, eyes hollow yet pleading. Just as I turned to run, a sudden slam echoed from behind me. I whipped around, discovering the door had shut itself with a force that rattled the walls. Panic set in. I rattled the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. My breath quickened, and my vision blurred as I desperately pulled against the door. Help me. The voice rose again, more urgent this time. The room felt alive with energy, shadows dancing on the walls like frantic spirits trying to escape. I felt the weight of countless eyes watching me, and I knew I had to get out. Then a soft breath brushed against my ear, sending shivers down my spine. "Stay, don't leave me." Something in that plea sent a horrifying realization through me. This wasn't just about answering a call for help. I was trapped, dragged into a dark past I had no business uncovering. I had to find a way out. I finally turned back to the door and pushed against it with everything I had. It creaked, then inched open just as dread consumed me. I bolted into the hallway, the frantic whispers fading behind me. My heart raced as the shadows thickened, but I had no time to look back. Outside the room, the hallway felt endlessly long, but I ran, fueled by panic. I needed to escape, to breathe, and then I heard it again, a soft whisper lingering in the air. Don't forget what had I uncovered in that room, and what consequences would follow. All I knew was that whatever it wasn't finished with me yet. The next night, I found myself unable to shake the memory of that room. I kept replaying everything in my mind, the figure, the voice, the plea. I wasn't sure if it was a dream or some sort of twisted reality. I had to know more, but part of me screamed to leave it alone. Determined to confront my fear, I returned to the hospital. It was a Saturday night, and the usual bustle of patients and nurses was replaced by an eerie stillness. I made my way to the same corridor where the dark room waited, each step heavier than the last. As I approached the door, I noticed something peculiar. A flicker of light seeped underneath it, dancing like a heartbeat. I hesitated for a moment, thinking about turning back. But that nagging curiosity, that need for answers, propelled me forward. The door creaked open, revealing the room just as I'd left it, but there was one distinct change. Someone was at the bed. A nurse, dressed in a faded uniform that seemed almost ghostly, stood there. She was arranging the sheets, her back turned to me. Relief washed over me, but it was soon replaced by dread. If she was here, then what did that mean for the figure? "Excuse me?" I said, my voice wavering. She didn't respond, just continued her task, as if I weren't there at all. I stepped further inside, trying to catch a glimpse of her face. "Are you okay?" I asked, hoping to connect with her. But still, she ignored me, moving methodically. Then, I saw it on the bed, the figure I hadn't noticed before. It was covered by the same stained sheets, only now the outline was clearer. I swallowed hard, my heart racing. I felt exposed, like I was an intruder in a private moment. Suddenly, the nurse spun around, her face gaunt and disheveled. "You shouldn't have come back," she whispered. There was something unsettling about her gaze, a hunger mixed with sorrow. "What do you mean?" I asked, backing away. She pointed to the bed, her eyes wide. "She needs you. Don't you remember?" Confusion flooded my thoughts. "Who?" I questioned, feeling like a puzzle piece that had been flipped around. The nurse's expression twisted, her voice dropping to a rasp. "The one in the bed. You spoke to her last night. Help her." As if on cue, the figure stirred beneath the sheets, the whispering voice calling to me. "Help me, don't leave me, you promised." Panic gripped me again, as the room felt like it was closing in. "What do I need to do?" I desperately asked the nurse. "Find what was taken from her," she said, a sinister smile creeping across her face. "You know where to look." The voice from the bed became more frantic, and I felt the temperature drop drastically. I turned on my heel to escape, but the door slammed shut before I could reach it. "Why are you doing this?" I yelled, feeling the walls close in. The nurse's smile widened, revealing teeth that looked too sharp, too hungry. "Because you're meant to be here," she said. "And you're not leaving until you help her." My heart raced as the shadows thickened around me. I had stepped deeper into something that felt all too deliberate and terrifying. I needed to escape this nightmare. But what did the nurse mean? What was taken from the figure? And why did I feel a part of this twisted fate? Just then, the lights flickered and went out, leaving me in total darkness with a whisper spiraling around me. I could feel a presence closing in. Fear coursed through me, and I realized I had to find a way to light this darkness, or risk becoming part of it forever. My heart pounded in silence, drowning out the whispers that seemed to echo in the darkness. I pressed my back against the cold wall, my breath coming in quick gasps. The oppressive gloom felt alive, shifting and curling around me like tendrils of fog. Panic surged, pushing me to action. I had to find a source of light, a way to dispel this nightmare. I fumbled through my pockets, searching for anything that could help. My fingers grazed the small flashlight I had brought just in case. Relief washed over me. I clicked it on, and a narrow beam of light cut through the darkness, illuminating the room's details. The pale blue sheen of the walls, the hospital equipment, and that figure still lying still beneath the sheets. I flinched at the sight, the fear still coiling in my stomach. "Help me," the voice pleaded again, but this time it sounded more desperate, more pleading. Ignoring my urge to bolt for the door, I took a calculated step closer to the bed. Maybe I could finally understand what was happening. The nurse remained by the corner, her unnaturally still body casting a long shadow. "You have to help her," she urged, her voice mixing with the whispers, creating an unsettling harmony. "You know what needs to be done." "What do you mean by that?" "What was taken?" I demanded, trying to hold on to the semblance of control. My voice shook despite my efforts. "You remember? From last night." "You hold the key," she insisted, her eyes glimmering with something too intense to be human. As the light flickered, I turned my attention back to the bed. I noticed something at the foot of the mattress. A small, dark shape lay hidden beneath the blankets. Cautiously, I reached out and drew back the sheets, revealing a collection of objects, trinkets, it seemed. My heart sank as I recognized one of them. It was a locket I had seen before. The moment I touched it, a surge of energy coursed through me, echoing the feeling of déjà vu I couldn't shake. My mind raced as visions flooded in fragments of memories that weren't mine, yet felt so familiar. I saw flashes of a woman, her face obscured, her eyes filled with sorrow. I could hear her laughter turn to cries for help. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The nurse lunged forward, a shadow within shadows. "You must give it back to her," she hissed, moving closer, her face warped with longing. "Give what back?" I shouted, feeling cornered by both her and the encroaching darkness. I shifted the locket between my fingers, its smooth surface surprising against my clammy skin. "Do you not see? You were not supposed to take it," she cried, her expression twisting into something monstrous. "You must," but before she could finish, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the room in harsh brightness. I squinted against the sudden glow, catching sight of the figure on the bed. The woman lay still, her eyes now wide open, staring directly at me. "Help me," she said once more, and my body felt heavy, as if bound by invisible ropes. Suddenly, the door swung open, and a rush of cold air flooded into the room, swirling around me. I felt a powerful urge to flee, but I knew I couldn't leave without understanding what was happening. When I felt it, a chill raced down my spine, and I turned to see a darker shape behind the nurse. "We're not finished yet," it growled, a voice that resonated with hidden threats. I found myself teetering on the edge of decision: flee and leave the room, or uncover whatever was hidden within that cursed space. But one thing was clear: I was in way over my head, and the clock was ticking. I stood frozen, caught in a web of fear and confusion. The dark figure loomed behind the nurse, its presence palpable. I could feel the weight of its gaze, heavy and expectant. This wasn't just a nightmare. It was an unraveling tapestry of secrets that I had stumbled into. "Get away from her!" I shouted, trying to muster strength. The words felt feeble, but I had to push back against the dread consuming me. The nurse didn't move, her expression oddly serene, as if she were caught between worlds. The woman on the bed lifted a trembling hand, and I noticed something glinting on her wrist, a bracelet, similar to the locket in my hand. It looked delicate, adorned with charms that seemed to resonate with the energy in the room. I stepped closer, drawn by the urge to reunite them. "Is this yours?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes flickered with recognition, but before she could respond, the shadow behind the nurse surged forward, its dark form blending with the flickering light. "You can't save her. You're only making it worse," it hissed. I took a step back, my pulse quickening. "No, I have to try," I blurted, gripping the locket tightly. It felt warm against my skin, pulsing with some kind of life. Perhaps this was the key. I didn't know how, but I was determined to discover its significance. "I don't want to hurt you," I said to the shadow. "I just want to help her." The creature laughed, a low, guttural sound that sent a shiver down my spine. "Help? Such a foolish sentiment. You know nothing of what you deal with," it sneered. The nurse's eyes flickered, depicting a struggle within. My heart raced as I felt the weight of time pressing against me. "What do I need to do?" I shouted, desperate for direction. The air began to feel electric. The room hummed, vibrating with energy as the lights flickered wildly. I could sense a shift, like the moments before a storm breaks. I needed to act fast. "Give her the locket." The nurse's voice rang clear for the first time, as if a barrier had been broken. It was laced with urgency, almost like a command. Without thinking, I stepped closer to the bed, the locket trembling in my palm. As I reached out, the shadow lunged at me, its dark form swirling violently. I felt a push against my chest, like I was being warned of an impending danger. But I couldn't stop now. "I'm giving this back," I shouted defiantly, holding it out toward the woman. Just as our eyes locked, the world around me warped. The air thickened, and the shadows danced chaotically as if alive. In that fleeting moment, I saw a story unfold, a tale of loss and longing, of something taken and now desperately returned. And then everything went dark. I gasped, feeling a pull backwards, like I was being drawn from the depths of a well. But in that void, something whispered just out of reach, a truth that hovered tantalizingly close. The shadows closed in again, leaving me with only the chilling echo of the woman's plea. "Help me." I had no idea what awaited me, but one thing was clear: I was deeper into this mystery than I had ever imagined. I struggled to catch my breath as the darkness enveloped me. My surroundings felt weightless, like I had fallen into a void with no beginning or end. My mind raced, grappling for something solid to hold onto. Where had the shadows taken me? Suddenly, a flash of light pierced the darkness. I instinctively flinched, shielding my eyes. When I opened them again, I found myself back in the hospital room, but everything felt different now. The nurse stood in place, her serene expression unchanged. Yet the atmosphere had shifted. Tension hung thick in the air like a storm cloud. "Where is she?" I blurted out, fear creeping into my voice. The woman on the bed was now still, as though the life had drained from her. Panic gripped me. Had I failed? The shadow loomed larger in the corner, pulsating with an ominous energy. "She is beyond your reach," it hissed, its voice a low rumble that vibrated through the floor. "No!" I shouted, stepping back. "There has to be a way." I felt the locket thrum against my chest as if it had a heartbeat of its own. The nurse, her eyes shimmering with an intensity one hadn't noticed before, spoke again. "The locket holds a connection. You must trust it." I blinked, trying to wrap my head around her words. "The locket? But how?" The shadow arched closer, its voice dripping with mockery. "You're nothing but a puppet, dancing on strings. Are you prepared for the truth?" It moved, engulfing the room in a suffocating darkness. With nowhere to run, I clutched the locket tighter. Memories flooded my mind, flickering images of the woman, the charms on her bracelet, the warmth in the locket. The bond between them felt stronger now, almost alive. "Tell me!" I screamed, the desperation igniting a spark of defiance in me. In response, the locket glowed brighter, a soft white light that penetrated through the shadows. Every ounce of fear within me transformed into a desperate determination. I thrust it forward, feeling the energy pulse from my hand. "I'll bring her back," I declared, more to myself than anyone else. The room trembled, and the shadow recoiled, momentarily released from its grip on reality. And then I heard a sound of whispering, fragile yet powerful. "You can't control what you don't understand." Before I could respond, the lights flickered again, and I was drawn to the woman. The space between us snapped tight like a bowstring, an unseen force urging me closer. I reached out, our fingers poised to touch, and the energy throbbed in the air around me. That S when I saw it. A shadow of something fleeting beyond the woman, a glimpse of a memory trapped in time. In that moment, a bright flash surged through me, pulling me into an even deeper darkness than before. I braced myself as the world spun, aching for answers I wasn't sure I was prepared to face. I felt like a kite caught in a tempest, waiting for a break in the storm. Then, the suffocating darkness lifted, and before me stood a figure cloaked in light. "You need to understand," it spoke softly, the voice both foreign and familiar. "Only then can you help her." As the figure reached out, a chilling realization struck me. The woman on the bed was not the only one needing saving. I had been drawn into a struggle much larger than myself, and I finally needed to face the truth about both of us. But what awaited me was a question I didn't know how to answer. I had to know what that truth was, before it was too late. I stood frozen, the light before me growing brighter, almost blinding. It felt as if every cell in my body was vibrating with a strange energy. "What do I need to understand?" I managed to whisper. Just then, the figure stepped closer. I could see a face, but it was indistinct, like a photograph fading at the edges. "You must remember," it said, voice echoing in my mind. "There are threads connecting your lives. The locket does not just bind you to her, it holds the key to what you need." As soon as the figure spoke, an image bloomed in my mind, a burst of vivid color and sound. I was younger, standing in a park with a woman. We were laughing, sharing secrets amidst the trees. But then the image flickered again, replaced by another scene, the woman crying, cradling the locket in her hands. The joy of the park felt distant now, overshadowed by something dark. The figure tilted its head, urging me to push further into the memory. The whisper of the shadow echoed in the back of my mind, taunting me. "You want to know the truth? Face it first." With a sudden wave of determination, I closed my eyes, focusing on that flickering image. I could feel the connection tightening, the urge to pull on the thread of memories. Suddenly, I was back in that park again, and this time I could see what had caused her sorrow. A man was arguing with her. His face twisted in anger, words laden with accusation. I felt a tug, a gut-wrenching feeling of betrayal. The scene shattered, and I was flung back into the hospital room, gasping. The shadow loomed larger than ever, its voice now a frenzied whine. "You're getting closer." But truth can be a terrible burden to bear. I shot a look at the nurse, who was now watching me with a strange mix of caution and hope. "What do I do?" I asked. "I can't let her go." The locket pulsed in my hand, brighter than before, almost burning hot against my palm. "Use your connection," the nurse said. "You have to pull her back. Trust the locket." Gathering my shaky breath, I lifted the locket in front of me. It thrummed with energy. "I know you're in there," I called out to the shadow, my voice stronger now. "You can't take her away from me." In response, the shadow let out a screeching wail, jarring the room and shaking the light above. The woman in the bed shifted, her features twisting as if battling the pull of the shadow. Suddenly, the walls quaked, and the air thickened around us. A new wave of darkness surged forward, wrapping around me and the bed like chains. I sensed something an unbearable weight sinking down on me. I couldn't back down now. I clutched the locket tight, my heart racing, and yelled, "I will find a way. I won't lose her." And just as the darkness threatened to swallow us, I felt something shift, a warmth spreading from the locket, rippling through the room. The shadows hesitated, as if uncertain against the rising light. Was this the answer I needed? Or was it a last-ditch effort before the end caught up with us all? Before I could react, an urgent voice whispered from the depths of my consciousness, "Find her before it's too late." The truth was closer than ever, but so were the shadows. My next move held every consequence. The warmth intensified, wrapping around me like an embrace. I could almost feel the shadow recoiling, hesitating in its movement. My fingers tightened around the locket as I focused harder. "Show me more," I murmured, feeling the energy connecting me to the woman in the bed. Suddenly, the mirror-like surface of the locket shimmered, revealing a fragmented memory, a glimpse of the woman sitting in a cluttered room, surrounded by papers and photographs. Her hands trembled as she held a picture of a man, the same face I'd seen arguing with her. Pain and confusion washed over her, and I caught a glimpse of a name written at the bottom of the photo. "Daniel." "Daniel?" I whispered, testing the name on my tongue. The memory flickered and shifted again, zooming into a scene of her moving the picture aside to reveal a collection of old letters, each one marked with a date. The last letter was crumpled, and I could see the heated words on the page, accusations of betrayal, of choices that could not be undone. "Please!" I shouted into the darkness. "What do you want from us?" The shadow surged back, furious, its voice a tempest. "What you uncover may break you. You have no idea what you're meddling with." As it spoke, I felt an even greater weight pressing down. The locket's light flickered but didn't fade. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone, the weak light barely illuminating the hospital room, but it felt like a lifeline. "Don't give in," the nurse said, her eyes steady on mine, filled with resolve. "You need to push a bit harder." I took a deep breath. "I see you, Daniel. You're part of this. Show me what happened." The room darkened again, but it was the shadow that overwhelmed me this time. Instead, I found myself swept into a different memory. I was standing in a dim bar, smoky air curling around me. There she was, sitting at the counter, her smile bright yet forced. Daniel leaned in, whispering something that made her laugh, but her eyes held a flicker of doubt. The scene twisted, the laughter replaced by a scene of her seething, alone in the same bar, looking at her phone like it was a ticking bomb. I could feel the weight of her disappointment, the sense of a future unraveling. I blinked and returned to the stark whiteness of the hospital room, now even dimmer. The shadows lashed out, growing bolder and darker, drawing every bit of light toward them. The locket's flame dimmed, but remained steady in my grasp. "Not yet!" I cried out, desperation spilling over. "You're not winning this." I glanced at the nurse, who looked ready to bolt. "What happens next? I have to know." She shook her head, urgency filling her voice. "You have to confront it, but don't show fear. You're the anchor for her now." And then everything went dark. The shadows pinned me in place, smothering any light. I felt myself slipping away, panic rising. As the last remnants of light faded, I finally understood. There was a connection, an undeniable bond one had to fight for. I couldn't allow myself to be consumed by the darkness. Then I heard it, a faint cry. It was her voice. And that S when I saw it, just ahead in the deepening shadows. A figure struggling, the locket glowing weakly against a backdrop of swirling darkness. "Don't let go!" I shouted, desperation fueling my resolve. "I'm right here!" In that moment, everything fell silent, as if the universe held its breath. I focused everything I had on the flicker of light that was still inside the locket, letting it guide me through the shadows that threatened to smother me. "Hold on!" I shouted, pushing my way toward the figure that teetered on the edge of oblivion. Time felt suspended as I stepped closer, the darkness swirling feverishly around us, fighting to pull me to pull her into its depths. "Help me!" The voice rang clear, but it was mixed with the cries of anguish that had filled this space for too long. But there was clarity too, a flicker of recognition that ignited sparks of hope. I outstretched my hand toward the woman, trembling with determination. "I'm here. I won't leave you." I could see her now, the fear in her hollowed eyes replacing the shadows that sought to encase her. Just as our fingers drew near, the malevolent shadow surged forward, a dark wave ready to crash down on me. "You think you can save her? You think it will be so simple?" It roared, its voice layered with mockery, chilled me to my core. "I won't let you take her." The words tore from me, filled with defiance. The locket vibrated feverishly in my grasp, bathing the room in a luminous glow that pushed back against the encroaching shadows. "You have no power over us." The more I concentrated on the light, the more I felt a connection to the woman, the laughter we had shared, the secrets traded in the park, the love that wove our lives together, each memory buoyed against the shadowy tide. "Daniel," I heard her voice again, softer this time. But there was no time to lose. I bore down on the moment, surrendering to the warmth radiating from the locket. With conviction, I called, "You are not a fragment of darkness. You are love, you are joy, you are seen." I pressed my palm firmly against the ether between us. A shift rippled through the space, like the first rays of dawn breaking through a night as darkness. The shadow shrieked, its form fluctuating. The woman's eyes locked with mine, confusion giving way to understanding. "Trust me," I whispered, my heart racing. "We can do this together." In that instant, her hand found mine. A wave of warmth surged through us, lifting the veil of despair that had shrouded her for too long. The shadows recoiled, screeching in fury, as the light swelled, expanding until it consumed the room. Then everything imploded into blinding brilliance. My vision cleared slowly, revealing the hospital room once more, but it felt different this time, lighter, freer. I blinked, taking in the scene, and my breath caught. The woman lay on the bed, eyes wide but alive. The nurse stood beside her, alive too, expression softened. The shadows had dissipated into wisps, evaporating like mist in the sunlight. "What just happened?" I stammered, disbelief washing over me. The nurse smiled, a rich warmth radiating from her now, a comforting presence rather than a threat. "You broke the cycle. Whatever held her chained here is gone." But as I turned back to the woman, a curling unease settled deep in my gut. "Why was she here?" I asked, still feeling the pull of the mystery. "What was the darkness?" The nurse exchanged a knowing glance with the woman. "Everyone hides darkness in their past," she said gently. "Sometimes we need help to put the pieces together, to let go of what keeps us bound." The woman gazed at me, tears glistening, the pain evident yet freeing. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice cracking. "But what if the darkness returns?" The question hung in the air, thick and heavy. I opened my mouth, searching for reassurance, for answers. But all I could muster was a memory of shadows, a lingering echo of pain. I realized then that nothing is ever truly resolved. There would always be lingering questions. Perhaps it was a natural fight against trauma, or something more ethereal, something I could never fully comprehend. I didn't know if I truly understood what had transpired, or if I had just danced at the edge of something immense. As peace settled in the room, I couldn't wipe away that unsettling feeling. That the darkness lingered just out of sight, ready to rear its head when least expected. I could never return to the hospital the same way. "I need to go," I said, unable to face the uncertainty. With one last look at the woman, I turned and walked out into the hall. I felt the quiet weight of their gazes on my back, filled with gratitude but also mystery. I slipped through the exit doors, stepping into the sunlight as a new day dawned. But deep down, I still wondered about the shadows left behind. I moved on, new city, new life, but in the stillness of night, sometimes I'd catch the echo of whispers trailing in the wind, wondering if it was merely a reflection of the past or a beckoning from the unknown. I couldn't shake the feeling that some stories are never truly finished, and that many ghosts remain willing to be heard.